Better than.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So whenever you're ready.
Where are we picking back up? I forget where we were.
Back from commercial or no? Jen's terrible hair.
Or the montage?
Yes.
The montage. Yes, the montage. Because everything you were saying was hilarious. I loved it.
Do we want to repeat the montage stuff?
No, I'll just jump in and say the one thing that I want to say about the montage, the music truly was amazing.
It was the best music they've had on the show all season, and they've had nothing like it before.
Yeah.
No. You throw in a couple shekels and you get some good music.
I'm telling you, that was if I wasn't paying attention to the actual montage, I would have enjoyed the moment. Like, oh, how sweet, little tinkly piano music. But then when I realized she was just doing the same thing in every scene, it was crossing off days and sleeping.
And I love that they learned the lesson from the chess montage that they somehow took an equally boring thing to look at, which is someone reading books, and they made that more interesting.
Yep.
It's amazing.
There was something very nice in 80s about that piano music. I feel like I've seen it in like romantic comedies of the 80s. It just felt very warm and comforting.
No. I love that every time she was in a new outfit and eating something different. They found different implements of food for her to
eat. You're right. All right, so we have this montage, and it leads up to the day before the final. And this was the scene in the kitchen with Alex kind of, applauding Mallory for really buckling down and really trying to study.
He gives her the most dickish, with one hand he gives her love, and then the other hand he smacks her in the face.
It is till the very end of the scene, just cuts the legs from under her again at the very end of the scene. Gary David Goldberg cannot give Mallory a nice compliment.
No.
So yeah, and this I also felt weird because I remember this was an episode I remember watching as a kid. For some reason, I don't know why this episode stuck out. And I think it occurred to me it was because of this. It's how Mrs. Hillman is giving the final. It is not a sit down and write out final. It is an oral exam final of 6 questions, which as a kid, I was like, oh, if that's high school, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, that's true. It's very scary, the prospect of having to do a one-on-one oral exam for your final. Luckily, that never happens ever in the history of anything.
Ever.
Can you imagine?
Exactly.
Can you imagine if you were Mrs. Hillman? Let's say each test takes 20 minutes, and she's got 20 kids in her class. How many? I need to be a math major to figure out how many hours that is. But my God, why would you do that?
Well, but also, Paul, it's only, she says, I'm going to ask you 6 questions. And apparently this is going to take an hour?
Oh, it's an hour. It's even worse. 20 hours worth of doing one-on-one tests.
An hour to ask 6 questions. None of this makes sense.
But this isn't even the problem, guys. Lest we forget about Gary David Goldberg, that he is the most neo-Confederate showrunner in the history of since there was a D.W. Griffith. We start the scene with Skippy. Let me get out my paper.
Right.
We start the scene with Skippy, in which she asks, what are the 3 results of the Civil War? Name 3 results of the Civil War. Skippy starts with, Union Pacific Railroad is built. 2, the South's plantation economy is destroyed. 3, Rhett and Scarlett got a divorce. Now, let's start with number 2. Hey, Gary David Goldberg, slavery ended? That's a real easy answer, you fucking racist. Lest we forget the prom, Alex's senior prom, which was plantation.
Yeah, he has a thing about plantations.
He sort of buried the headline by not um, delivering on slavery as number one.
Yeah. No, it's Union Pacific. Oh, that old chestnut that we all know about.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to look up if that's even true because of the Civil War.
What? The plantation economy was destroyed?
No, the Union Pacific Railroad.
Oh, I mean, it's so stupid. I guess it would have to be. I don't know. I don't know if it's like an
Maybe.
effect of, but
right. Yeah. Love just to look up Paul's face.
yeah, yeah. So then Mallory
Yeah.
comes in. And she has 6 questions.
Nervous as hell.
Who wouldn't be with this teacher?
Right. This is fucking terrifying.
And it starts with the Louisiana Purchase and its effect on Thomas Jefferson's presidency.
Right. And Mallory starts to kind of just stumble with the answer that he bought it from France for $15 million, which is a pretty good deal at the time since it was French. And Mrs. Hillman just has had it. Mallory again.
She really yells. She really, really yells.
Yeah.
It does.
This is her final. And you're yelling at her.
And she yells at her to the point that Mallory, she wants her to be an intelligent young woman. And she yells at her to the point that Mallory starts crying and then shouts out a bunch of nonsense about states' rights versus federal power. Because Thomas Jefferson was a Democrat and he believed in states' rights, also known as "I want to keep my slaves." And so the fact that once again Gary David Goldberg is couching everything in states' rights talk, he's just a fucking Confederate apologist at this point. That's all he is. But she shouts out some neo-Confederate bullshit, and then Mrs. Hillman loves her forever.
Yeah, she's like, there we go. Now I got the answer that I wanted from you. That was an intelligent answer. And then it's
I don't
about
know.
Monroe.
Yeah, yeah. She asked her a question about Monroe and the War of 1812 and the era of good feeling. And then she says at the end of this that like she's happy that she's now seen the real Mallory Keaton. What the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, I was like, what? What?
What's that, Corey? I'm sorry.
Well, bullshit. Everything that woman said was bullshit.
Yeah.
That's your part.
Right.
I just don't understand why Mallory can't be the person that she is. Like, that there's some hidden intelligent woman inside her, that everything else is bullshit about Mallory Keaton. There's actually this little pilot light inside of her that is the real woman.
And even though we now know what her passion is and what her talents are, everybody still wants to sort of push that round hole into that round peg into the square hole by making her into a student like Alex, as opposed to accepting her for being a much more artsy version of one of their children. And she's got different desires and different passions and different interests, and she's really good at what she does. Leave her alone.
Yeah. There is actually a moment at the end of this episode where she was like, Mallory said something along the lines of, about being compared to Alex or something like that. And they could have actually given Mrs. Hillman a line saying, no, you be you. And they don't. It's just, oh, yeah, it's just laughed off.
Yeah, it just, I don't know,
Yeah.
It just shits on anyone who isn't a certain type of intelligence or has different interests. Like, she's going to go to college. Guess what she's not going to have to study when she's going to Grant and becoming an arts major is fucking history.
Mm-hmm.
So who cares that she doesn't like this class?
Yeah. And then, so we get through this scene and we get to the graduation scene. I have an issue with Skippy's parents. We do not see them there. They are horrible parents, it seems.
Yeah.
And they always kick him out of the house. Skippy would have been better left off with his biological
I guess
mother.
so. I mean, this is a lesson we're learning here.
Yeah. His parents are not at his own graduation.
We also see a small moment that I really enjoyed where Elise and Steven are congratulating Mallory on her success with the final and stuff like that. And she's like, well, you forced me to do well. And then Elise is like, no, we encouraged you to do well. And then she's like, well, you encouraged me forcefully. And I was like, oh, great. This is the argument that they will be fighting about for the rest of their lives, is that...
this is where it starts.
It's like when you see that moment where now as an adult, you hate your parents for fill in the blank. And this is that moment with Mallory.
You're right, Paul.
Yeah.
You're so right. Is that passive aggressiveness in her tone?
Exactly. She's like, no, I'm not forgetting this forever. This, what you've done, I'm never forgetting this, and I'm never forgiving you for it.
It is nestled in my brain, and I will resent you forever.
Yeah.
Every Thanksgiving, this shit's coming up.
Yes. Yes. This will be played out for the rest of eternity.
And
then she talks to Mrs. Hillman, where Mrs. Hillman...
Yeah.
Now, this is now where we turn this into some version of second wave versus third wave feminism, which was an interesting thing that, like, Mrs. Hillman was so mean to her because she wanted her to be smart and not dumb like all the girls in the 60s who would pretend to be dumb so that way they would get dates. I don't know. Anything?
Yeah. It just seems so I mean, it just seems like it sounds like Mrs. Hillman is working out some of her own issues vicariously through Mallory.
Mm-hmm. And it's so pasted on. Like, this wasn't in the rest of the episode, and now it's a thing.
Right. And just the fact of you're forcing her to be something in your own image is demeaning.
Yeah.
You know? As a teacher, like, I would never do that. I'd be like, okay, well, this is where this kid's at. This is who they are. Yeah. I'm not going to try to make them smart at something that they show no interest in whatsoever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we end the episode as they all sit down to the graduation and they pan up to the stage, and who is there making the opening announcements of the graduation but Principal Dr. Schulte.
Schulte. The nefarious Dr. Schulte.
Of all the things that they don't get right on Family Ties, of all the things that they ignore about stuff they've written in the past, they always cast this one guy.
You mean like stuff about main characters?
Yeah. He is the through line throughout the entire series of Family Ties. I think since season 1.
Still has not paid for his crimes against freedom of the press with the school paper.
Right.
Still has not paid for that.
I just think it's funny because in looking at this episode, it's the most unceremonious celebration of Mallory's graduation from high school. It's like such an afterthought.
It is. As opposed to didn't season 2 or 3 maybe season 2 end with Alex's graduation?
Yeah, wasn't that the one with where he was going to be the salutatorian or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and that was like a big thing.
Yeah. Who cares about Mallory?
Poor Justine Bateman. Justine Bateman. Good, and they're giving her shit.
So, guys, season 4. Any concluding thoughts?
Lazy, and lazy.
Yeah, it's been such a much like 2016, it's been a very disappointing season.
I agree with both. There's nothing more to say. It started off so well, and now here we are.
They accomplished very little with the introduction of Andrew.
I'm sorry,
they did nothing with Andrew.
They've accomplished very little with the introduction of Andrew. It seemed as though they were going to accomplish something with the addition of Nick and Ellen.
And nothing.
Which, by the way, Ellen's on this episode, just so our listeners know.
Yeah. She's wearing a blue
For no
sweater and
reason.
she looks great.
Mm-hmm.
It looks awesome. Yep. Yep.
But
and
again,
that's season
I
4,
only say that
everyone.
what she looks like because they have her do nothing in this episode.
Yeah, there's nothing to comment on. I think she has 2 lines this entire episode.
Guys, can I just say something? Everyone is blaming 2016 for everyone dying and Trump getting elected and all this stuff, right? What if we look back after seasons 5 through 7 and look back on 2016 and be like, "Oh, those were the good old days."
Paul, don't even fucking joke about that.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
scared about that. That thought had crossed my mind.
Yeah. On that note, we'll see you. We're having 2 weeks off, and we're going to be coming back on January 26th. So be prepared for season 5. I know that we are.
We're on our antidepressants to get through it.
Yeah. And that's it.
And
Guys,
everyone-
as always, I there's no one I would ever want to talk about family ties with than you two.
Absolutely.
I don't think you'll find anybody
And I
to
want
talk
to
about
thank-
family ties with you, but us too.
We're the only ones, Paul. Who are you gonna get? Joaquin Nunez?
Oh no.
Oh my God.
And I want to thank you guys for holding down the fort with this crazy season 2 while I was out on a very long, chaotic
Oh wow.
paternity leave.
We're just glad that you're all good.
Yeah.
We're all good. And if anything I'm looking forward to is talking with you guys more. Forget the episodes, just these conversations are awesome. And everyone, be sure to rate and review our show on a Facebook page. Let me start over. Because I haven't had it pulled up, and I don't think I can on my phone.
Oh. Just improvise it.
I'm going to.
Okay, so guys,
I know you love that, Paul.
So listeners, Scott forgot to pull up the ending credits, so he's going to improvise this for the end of season 4. He's going to be out on a tightrope.
Oh, let's see this.
I mean, we think for some reason, for 4 seasons of this, my mind cannot memorize this script. I don't know why.
We'll help
I
you.
love it.
All right.
Yeah.
So be sure to rate and review our show on iTunes. And for questions and comments, be sure to email us at qualitytimewithfamilyties@gmail.com. Also, you can follow us on Twitter. We are at QTWFT. We're also each on Twitter. I'm at Follow Jones.
I'm at Paul Packler.
I'm at Corpep.
And be sure to like our Facebook page. We'd like to thank our host and producer, Barbara Dillon at Fanbase Press. Fanbase Press. Fanbase Press is an online conglomerate for creators, updating everyone with interviews, reviews that span the pop culture spectrum. Check out everything they do at fanbasepress.com. Thank Perry Adams, who beautifully performs the theme song without us. Check out all of Perry Adams' music at perryadams.com. We like to thank Brian Dillon, who does our artwork and edits our show, co-president of Fanbase Press. Be sure to follow him on Twitter at Comic Book Slayer. And lastly, Sean Foster, our graphic designer. Thank you for everything you do. Guys, we will see you all in 2017 with season 5.
That was great,
Bye.
Scott. That gave us all hope, I
Thanks.
think. That's hope for the future, you
It
guys.
is.
Oh, dear God, if that's hope, then we're all screwed.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye, guys.